Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now I am going to sew the tote bag that I got from Babylone leather. Now this kit has everything you need. It gives you the needles, the thread, you've got your scissors, you've got those little things to put over your fingers so that the needles don't slide around. You get all the hardware for the bag. You even get the screwdriver. I think this is to put the buckles and things on the bag. You get a set of needles. I've got 2 here and I've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they give you about 7 needles. Here, they all look the same size. I've got all the items in the kit and this is the little information leaflet. Now, what you do is on your phone you scan this and it takes you to the bag leather kit that you have on their YouTube channel. Now what I did was I scanned it with my phone. And I found the title of the video and I put it up here on my large computer. It's up here on my large computer. So if you hear a voice in the background, it'll be that telling me what I have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pieces. I've had a little look at the video and the pieces that I'm not going to use right away, I'm going to put them underneath my desk on the shelf. I've got a shelf under here and I'm going to put these pieces there out of the way. They're just down under there. Now in the video I seen that it was using these pieces, some of these pieces, and this is inner zip bag. This is the inside of the tote bag. Now it tells you that the inside of the bag has got, the inside area has got small holes and the outside area has got larger holes. So it tells you what way to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow it step by step so you know the right way around. I've got these here and she's got them turned that way. I'll just move this piece aside just now as well. Now what she's doing is she's putting a 3D buckle in here and we're going to sew it, I think, in there. So I've got that one and I've got that one. So you just follow the video and you take your time. And once you've done one, I'm sure you're going to want to do lots of these. And there's lots of different bags and they make great gifts as well. And under the video, there is a link to the Babylone website if you click on it. And there is a discount code as well. Now at the moment they've got, on the kits, they've got a 30% off discount. So let's see what she says next.
And the belt loop's front faces outward. Measure the thread 3 times the length of the sewn part, then cut it off. Thread the needle.
So I have to make sure these are turned the right way. So that's with the stud facing in the way. I have to measure my thread 3 times the length of the item. Now I will say the video is going a little bit fast. So 3 times the length. 1, 2, and 3. And then you have to cut it off with the little snippers. There's no top to this, so be very careful, they're sharp. So I'll pop that aside and see what she says next. I have to pass the thread through the needle eye. If I tie it, I saw her tying it.
Needles pass the thread through the needle. Then pull out a section. Let the needle point to pierce the thread. Pull it tight. Now it is done.
So what I have to do is I have to thread the needle. I have to pull it through, and then what I have to do is I have to stick the needle right through the thread, and that is going to hold it in place for when you're sewing it. So push it right through the thread and pull, and it should knot itself. And there we go. Ha, we've done that successfully. Now the other side. And what you're going to do is when you stitch this, you're going to stitch through from one side and through the other. I'll show you that as well. So the thread through the needle, it's quite a big eye, so it's easy enough to see. You have to pull it through a bit and then take the point of your needle and you have to push it through this thick thread. And when you start sewing your bag or whatever project you've got, I'm finding this a little bit difficult. I'll stick that down there and just push it through that thread, push it right through and then pull, and it should knot itself under the needle. So there we go, we've got our two sewing needles like this. Ta-da! Operation, here we go. Well, I think her knots are not down as far on this, so I'm going to pull it a little bit. Pull a loop up. Pull it through, because she's got the knot. She's got the needle up here like this. So it's joined down here. So all I'm going to do is just pull it through like this. There we go. So the knot's down here and I've got a loop. Now that was easy enough. The needle through the first hole here. Just push it through, really easy. Look at that. And then she's going to go through. You can see where it is, the square is. I'll zoom in a little bit and come down a little bit so we can see. And we're going to go through the first hole here on this side. We're going to match it up. So we're going to push our thread through and through that one. Just push it through and that's going to fit in there. So we have to pull this one through, pull it, easy. Now she said the neighbouring pinhole and she came up the next one in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn it and go through that pinhole, and we should line up. If you can't get it straight away, just move it a little bit so you can see where you're going and line it up. Put it back down. So she pushed through. It's easy to push it through and pull. Wriggle it through. Now this is what she did. She made sure her threads were even like this. I'm going to hold that there in position. Make sure I've got what one goes where. Now she pulled this one over here out of the way, and you have not to pierce the thread. So don't pierce the thread. And she put this needle down that same hole. I'm going to wriggle it through. I'm thinking maybe the first one might be a little bit tight. Make sure you go through that same hole on that side and don't pierce the thread. So I'm going to hold that out of the way she's done it. Once we get the first stitch in and it's tight, I think it'll be good. So we're coming through, we're making sure we're not going in the thread. You don't want to go in through that thread. Just wriggle that through. If it's too slidey, you can put those rubber things on your fingers. And pull. Oops. And she's going to pull the stitch tight. That way. have to go through the next stitch on this side. I'm going up that way. I still might have to wriggle it to align it. There we go, it's all gone through. Woohoo! I'm going to pull it through this side, and she pulled it off to the side. Just give it a pull. And then you take this one and you go back down that same pinhole, and don't pierce the thread, and you should come right out there. Yes! Let's come right out the other side. Pull it through. Yeah, look, we've made our first stitch. Yay! So give it a little pull. And then with this one, we're going up this way to this next hole. And we should come through there. So I'm going to come up with this one. Pull. So we've got our stitches on this side. As you can see there. I think that's right. And then this one, we are going to go through that same one and try not to pierce the thread that's already there. And we're coming through the top of that one. And that's the way we're going to work this. Just wriggle it through. And pull your stitch. Then with this one, we're going to go through the next one. Going up through that one. It's getting a little bit easier as we pull it. Take this one, just move this one off to the side, and we're going down that same hole and through to the other side. And we're going to do that all the way around. So I've got all the way around. Now a little tip, that when you're pulling your thread through, if you make sure you pull it down towards you like this, it's going to open the hole a little bit so that when you come back up, it's not going to pierce through your thread. Now this is the first time I've done this and I'm really chuffed with it. I'm really chuffed. Now she said do a back stitch. So that means I'm going to go back through this one. It might be a little bit harder because there's 2 pieces of thread in through there already. And pull. Now I want to see if she finishes on the same side, on the inside. Is this the outside or the inside? This is the outside, and I think that's the inside of the bag. This will be inside the bag. This part here will be inside the actual bag. And this is the side of the bag. So that when you clip it, you can clip it together like this. And it gives it that shape. Or you can have it open like this. So we need to put our threads through to the other side. So I'm going to go through this corner to the other side. So I've got one needle through this side and I'm going to pull this needle through. Don't wriggle it too much. If you wriggle it, try and pull it straight up the way. If you're struggling, you can put these little rubber things, grippers, on your fingers. And that's going to help you pull it. I'll put one on my thumb. So you can use these to pull up. Now don't wriggle it or you'll break your needle. There we go. We've got them both on the same side. I'm going to take those off. They're a little tight. These are quite tight, these. I've just got fat fingers. And she just cuts. This is the inside. So make sure that when you cut it, this is the inside. You're cutting it on the inside. So let's see what she's going to do next. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the next one. So I've got both my D-rings sewn in, and they're on the right side because these are going to be the sides of the bag where you can snip it so it's a slimmer bag or leave it open like this, and these are going to be on the inside. Now, I didn't find it too difficult. What I will suggest is when you do these, if you do that back sewing to cut it, do it down here, it's easier. These stitches are quite difficult to push through if you've not got strong fingers. It's not impossible. I did do it. I did get it through, where that one was easier because I went up and around that way and finished down here. But this one, the way I put it on, I actually started up here and worked my way around like that. So it is better to start down here so that you finish down here where it's easier to grip it. So I'll find out what the next stage is. So she says, make sure it opens this way. Now what we're going to do is these pieces, we're going to sew these pieces on here. So I take it it's going to sew the zip in as well. It's going to go on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to work up these pinholes here. Keep the zip aside. We're going to use the 2 needles and work up here. When we get to this pinhole set here, we'll put this on. And using the 2 needles, we'll sew along here, up here, aligning the pinholes with the bag. You can see them in the bag there. You'll align it and you'll sew with the 2 needles up to here. Then we'll leave 1 needle here and we'll just use 1 needle and go in and out the pinholes and then work our way back so there's no spaces left. And then we'll use the 2 needles again. I'll show you when we get to it. We'll use back and forth just like we did at that beginning one and sew that piece to here. So this is what I've got, but make sure that when you're sewing this, you don't catch your zip. Make sure you don't stitch your zip in anywhere. I've done all my zipper. I've got my needles here. It might be worthwhile too if they put a thimble in there, because there's some parts here that's quite thick, as you can see. It's quite thick. So when you're pushing your needle through and back, it was a little bit tough. It was a little bit tough. But I think if I had a thimble, then I could use the thimble on my thumb or a finger to push the needle through and help with the grips. So far, I've not really needed these, but even I tried them on. I put them on my fingers when I was pushing the needle through, and it didn't make that much difference. And that's what this video is for. This video is to show you what you're doing. Now when you're sewing this on, I just sewed this tail end. I thought, do I sew it right down there? But no. So what I did was I just sewed it to the very corner here and left this open, because this is going to be inside my bag like this. So once you've got your bag done, this is going to be on the inside like that. And then that piece there will be on the outside. Then your handles are going to be on there. So I'm going to show you a few little, where I am with this bag. Now, update 1, I found out what this is for. In the original box opening that I did for the video, these were in the package and I didn't know what they're for. All ruched on, like all thingied onto the handle. You put the black tubing that you've got inside here and you fold it over and you start stitching. Mine's were sticking out. So when I contacted Babylone and I says to them on their video, doesn't tell you what to do when this is sticking out. So they sent me another picture back and saying that you trim it to these holes. But when I did that, I couldn't get this piece. These are the handles. Now what's going to happen with the handles is your handles are going to go through these buckles and you're going to sew it into place. Now I couldn't get my piece of leather in correctly because the hose was sticking out. So when I trimmed it, my hose is in there. I've trimmed it just a little bit too shy. I've done it a little bit too neat. I should have trimmed it when down to maybe here. But if you can manage to sew it with this piece into here, like this, and it's inside there, what I found is I couldn't get my leather piece to go in properly when I was just messing around trying to do it. So what I did with mine, I trimmed it. I just pulled it back and I've trimmed it inside there. So it is still in there, in the handle, and it will be okay. I think that this one's down a little bit more. I've brought that down a little bit more, that one. I think I should have brought it down a little bit more so that when it goes on the handle like this, there's a little bit of strength there. So when you sew it in, if your hose is down to where these holes are, you bring your hose, you trim it down at these ones here. I could still cut a little piece and put it back in. I could put a little piece in there. So I should have just trimmed it about here. So when this piece gets folded over inside the buckle, you've got a little bit of strength here on this part. When it's in there, you'll have a little bit of strength. In the YouTube video that they produced for these, they've got one of these on. And they put it on there to hold it so that when you're sewing it, it holds this close. It's really tough. I found it was quite hard to hold it here without this. Now what I did was, I have this size. This is like a size bigger. And I found, personally, myself, I found that these ones were better to hold it. They held it a bit better, and I had two on. I put one up here to hold it closed when I was sewing it, and it really helped to keep these parts closed when I was sewing it, this part here. And when I sewed down so far, I just moved this up. I moved it up and it held the area closed a lot easier, and it was a lot easier to hold it and keep the pinholes aligned, and it made it really easy rather than just having one little one, because for me, I've got arthritis and it was quite sort of hard to get that to go on in there, especially when it hadn't been sewn. But these hold it just as tight, these slightly larger ones. So if you do have this size in your house, then try using these ones. And I'm going to move them back. So That's another little tip with the handles. So I'm going to move all my hardware out of the way. I need that. That's my buckle. I'll move these out of the way. Pop that over there. It looks like I've got one stud extra. And that's it's good to have one extra stud in case you're out and about and you lose a stud off your handle. Now I've got my needles done. I've got it threaded up just the way I've showed you at the beginning. So let's start. Show you how to do this to make it like that. This is what we're aiming for. We're aiming for a loop. To have a loop on the outside of your handbag. This is the outside of your handbag. We're going to put, it's a little difficult to try and sort of do it like that and then put it through to keep it all aligned. The easiest way to do it is just, don't be afraid to move your bag back and forward. We're doing the top row. So put your needle through first, through the first pinhole. And then you've got the 2 rows. So we're going only through this top one of the 2 where you've got 2. You've got a single row up here and 2 together. Make sure this is the outside of your bag and you've got this piece turned in this way. Because if you put it on wrong, what you can do, and you've sewed it and you realise you've done it wrong, just pull it away a little bit and then use these snippers to snip carefully through the stitches if you have to take it off if you've done it wrong. But if you do it this way, you will get it correct. So line that up and line your needle up with the top row. Oops. We're only going to sew this top row. So we'll pull our needle through. Make sure we get an equal amount on each side. So just pull it like this so you've got an equal amount on each side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this one. Now I can't see where I'm going. But what you can do is don't be afraid just to pull it away and then go through your next hole. So go down with this side. Make sure this thread is out of the way. Don't stitch through it. Don't catch it. And then give it a little pull. Don't pull too tight or you'll pull this one out of place. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to keep this thread out of the way. I'll pull it down. And I'm going to go just slightly up through the hole but above the thread. You don't want to catch these threads. So put your needle through, and if you can't see where you're going, don't be afraid to pull it back. And you can see where my needle's coming through, and I'm going back into that same second pinhole and bring it through. So don't be afraid to move it around, just don't pull it tight just yet. So pull that through. On this side. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take this one and go through the third hole. There's only 4 holes, so go through the third hole and then line it up with the third hole on this part and pull it through. Then you can pull it a little bit tighter. Don't pull it too tight just now. Now take this one and you're going to pull my thread out of the way so I don't sew through it. Go in here. Now if you need to, if it's not aligned up, just look down here and line up the hole. Make sure you're not going through that thread. Don't worry just now about that one. We've only got 4 pinholes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it. Just tighten it. And your stitches on both sides will tighten. Then I'm going to take this one and go through this last one. And again, you can just tilt it to make sure it's in line with the hole on this side. And you'll know it's in line. It goes through really easy. The only time I found it just a little bit tough was when I was back sewing it. It tells you to back sew it. I'm sorry if you didn't see that going through there. So now I'm going to hold my thread out of the way on this one and put this one through. And it's caught through and through this way. And just wriggle it through gently. Now pull your stitches tight. Now that's still got a little bit of movement. So pull your stitches tight now from either side. And that's going to tighten it up. Now what I did was I worked my way back. And you want to finish up so that your threads are on the inside of the bag. You know that your inside, it's a little shade different from your outside. So I'm going to take my needle and go back in through that one. It should be lined up. And there we go, it's going through. And bring this one to this side, and we can give it a pull now. We can give it a little tighten. Then get my needle, and we're going to go back in here. Now, as you do this, you'll realise that you're going in and out of the same one about 4 times. But you want your handles to be nice and steady. So you want your handles to be secure. So I'm going to just push. This is where I found maybe I needed a thimble. So just push your needle through and pull it through this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work back to here. I'll make sure that both my threads are on this inside. So I've put my needles in and out and in and out, and I'm at the end. Now this is the inside of the handbag. Now in the video it tells you to, I made my thread a little bit on the long side here. It tells you to cut your threads and leave them, and they'll deal with them later. But dealing with them later, all she does is she trims it and then uses a lighter to just give a little singe to the ends. So I've got both my threads on this side. I've made this a little bit too long, and you get this whole reel, so don't worry that you might run out of thread. You get this whole reel. There's a lot in that. You're better to have a little bit too much than not enough. So we're going to snip those off, and I'm going to rethread my needles. So I'm going to rethread my needles. So it should only be about 1.5 times the bag to stitch along there. Doesn't harm just to have a little bit extra. You're better to have too much than not enough. And in the YouTube video for this bag, when you scan that code, she tells you how many times to measure it to get the length of thread that you need. Now I'm just pushing that through the thread. This is waxed thread, so I'm just pulling it through there. I pull it down, I smooth it. You don't get a knot there, you smooth just really nice and smooth. And it does, it's like a little slip knot. Now there is another bag that I saw on their website, and at the moment there's 30% off. It's like a saddle bag. Do you know, like the sort of older style 70s leather saddle bag, and it looks really cute. But if you look at their website and you think, my goodness, some of these are a little bit expensive, but there's all different prices. And when you think of it, you've done this bag and it's a proper leather bag and you've made it yourself. And it'll last for many, many years. And you keep the leftovers of your kit. So if anywhere, because you've done it yourself, if there's anywhere that you haven't stitched, If you've maybe used it for 5 years and then some of the stitching is coming a bit loose, you can just redo it. Redo it. Now, what we're doing now is I've got my thread. So this is what you've got. So this is the way, this is the outside of your bag, where your handles are going to attach, like this. So you can see what it is. Now you're going to take this piece here, this bottom piece, and tuck it in and push it through to the inside. It's easier to do this than try and pull it all through and sew it. So I've got it on this side. Now, this is still the outside. Get your little square ring and put it on. Put your hook, tassel, whatever you want to call this, your metal piece, put that on that way. Don't put it on that way, it won't fit. This one won't fit. So this one goes on that way. Then take this piece and push it through the hole. Push it through the hole to the other side. And catch it on this side. This is the inside of the bag. Just wriggle it through. Now, you're going to sandwich these together, so this will get bolted down the same way as this one with these little hexagon studs. I found, don't do that just yet, sew it first. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sew through this bottom row on the inside of the bag, sew through there, and we're going in through the whole thickness of here. Then we're going to go back that way and then down through the holes. So you'll have a little set of stitches on this side. So we haven't got it just yet because we haven't sewed it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle through, go through the first one, whatever one you want to go through, you can go through that one first and work up here. So pull your needle through on this side. Kind of make sure you've got sort of like half and half of the thread. Then go through this. Go through this little toggle thing. And if you can't align it, go through the first pinhole. Go through the first pinhole and open it and go through the second pinhole. So it's like that. Don't go anywhere near that. So this is what we've done, as you can see. So now we'll take the needle again. We're going to go through the next hole. Go through the next hole, right through to the other side, and pull. Then you're going to go through these pinholes, straight through there. If it's not quite lining up, you can open it just to make sure your needle's going through the pinhole. If you've got your pinhole aligned up correctly, it'll be easy. Now, don't tighten it just now. I found it was much easier just to sew it the way you're meant to sew it. And then pull it tight. It's only 4 stitches. So pull through to this side, and remember, we're going down in there as well. So remember and take your needle right through to the other side. Easier to do it like that. Then fold it. then fold it. Now I've not tightened it yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it. This is the inside, this is the outside. I'm going to put my hexagon stud on the outside of my bag. Then put the screw in from the inside of your bag. Get my screwdriver. We'll zoom in a little bit. And screw it in. You're going to screw the screw into the hexagon. Just hold it with your fingers on this side. And then screw it so it's hand tight. And that's the stud done. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut your thread, both of your threads, and you're going to twist them around your fingers. This is what I did. And give it a pull from either end. A little wriggle and a little pull, and it's going to pull those stitches in tight. So now I've done my stitches, I'm going to work back the way. So just push your needle through. I'm going to work back and back across here. I've got this piece here pushed down. I've got it pushed down. And that's your buckle done. And then we'll move on to the next stage. So we've got our 4 buckles done. That's the insides and that's the outsides. So we've got our 4 buckles on for our handles. And the handles are going to get sewn this way. In through there. Now I'm not putting the handles on just now because the video actually says that will go through there like this and get sewn in through the holes that way, and then that one will get sewn in there, but I'm going to do that last because we've still got a few more stages to do. Now I found giving a little extra explanation on how to put these parts in if you get stuck, and I think that would work with most of the bag or purse videos because most of them have these on it, and that's how you put those parts on. So when you sew these on, you've got to make sure that your handles are going to be this lighter side out, and when your handles are down, it's like this. So what you're going to do is, the best way to do it is have it this way. That's the bottom of the outside of my bag. So I'm going to thread that through that way. Thread it through that way so it's facing you, and this darker line, stitched line, is facing up this way. Now I'll zoom in, because what we're going to do is we're going to match these pinholes with these pinholes that are here. So we're going to fold it over this bar and line it up. Now I've got my thread done. So if you're still watching this video, you can still go onto YouTube and watch the original video for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to thread your needle through and match it up with the first pinhole on this side. A little bit fiddly. And we're going to go through this way, match up the pinholes and that pinhole, pull it through, pull your thread, pull your stitch a little bit tight, get that thread out of the way, and we're going to go as we normally do with the stitches. So match up the pinhole and you're going to come through this side. We can still slightly see through there. Push it through. Now it might look as if I'm a little awkward, but I'm trying to video this at the same time. So just pull your stitch tight and that stitch. So I've got that last stitch done. Just pulling my stitches. I'm going to work back a few stitches too, just to hold it in place, just to secure it. Especially here at this end. So when they say work back 3 stitches, you have to work back that way. So go back through that one. Just find your way in through that side. It says work back 2, so that one's going to work back in that same hole through this side. Just a gentle wriggle. You don't want to break your needle. Tighten your... I'm going to bring this one back through to this side. And then I'm going to do the other 4 parts of the handles. So I'll do this side and then I'll do the other flap of the bag. So pull that tight. Then we're going to trim our ends off. There we go. And that's that one done on that side. And that's what it looks like on this side. So now what we'll do is I'm going to turn it that way and repeat the process again. So I'm going to put it down this way. So again, we're going to bring this through this way, from this side to this side. And we're going to follow the stitches just the same way we did on this side. And that's going to put your handle on. So I've got my 2 outside ends of my bag done. So it's going to be this way. So looking like a bag. I've done the 4 parts of my handles. What I done with it though is I over sewed at the ends just to reinforce it. And that's what the inside looks like. Make sure these pieces are on the outside and the zip. Make sure it's that way and the zip's there. So that's the outside of my bag, like that. We're going to sew along here. We're going to add the bottom. Where is my bottom? So this is the bottom of the bag. So the bag will be like this. That's going to be the bottom of the bag. So what we're going to sew through, you've got a cut in this. Now this cut here is to help when you sew the sides on. We've got our little rounded sides. You can see that they're rounded. These will get sewn up here on the sides, this way. That buckle there is going to take the big strap. Now when I got the shoulder strap, it was already sewn together like this. This was already all sewn together. You don't need to sew all that. It comes like this, and that'll go through there and all the way around to the other side. So we're going to put that aside. We don't need that just now, and we don't need the side. All we need is one front, the inside, one part of the inside, the other part. Open it up like that. We're going to sew this. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew through the first 2 pinholes with that on. That's the bottom side, that's the inside, that's the inside. That'll be inside the bag, that side. So turn it that way, outside and outside. You're going to sew through the first 2 pinholes, and then you're going to add this piece in. So you'll be sewing through the 3 layers. From stitch 3, you'll sew through the 3 layers to stitch 3 on to the last 3 stitches there. The last 2 stitches you'll stitch on their own, and then you'll just work back a few stitches and cut your thread when your thread's on the inside. So I've got the bottom of the bag sewn onto the first flap and 1/2 of the inner piece. Now what I'm going to do now is I need to flip it over like this. So that's my inner piece. This is my next piece, and I'm going to do the same thing with it. We're going to turn that way. We will align this inner piece as well. We'll align it all up, and we're going to sew up here the same as I did here. Now once I'd done about 3 or 4 stitches, I worked my way back, then I went forward, and when I got to the end I worked back about 3 or 4 stitches, then I went back to there just to strengthen these corners. It was quite easy to get my needle back and forward through. It did help using the clips to hold these pieces together the way I showed you just a few minutes ago. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my studs on. Now these are the bottom studs. Now I've got the plastic covers over mine. You can get these, you get in the kit, you get these plastic silicone covers. Now what I'm going to do is turn it around the right way. I've got my screwdriver somewhere here. I'm going to put a screw in through the hole from the inside, and the stud goes on the bottom. That's the outside bottom of the bag. So I'm going to just tighten it with the screwdriver, and you get that in the kit as well. And you get the screws and you get the studs. You get everything you need. Just screw it in, and you get one extra. You get an extra stud and an extra screw. So when you place your bag down on the floor, it's sitting on these studs. So the bottom of your bag's not getting old. It's not getting all dirty and soggy and wet if you have to put it down. It together the same way as I did with this. So I'm going to have to keep putting my hand inside here and up and down, and I'll let you know how easy that is. Now there is also the official video for you to follow with this, but if you find any of the official video where you don't quite understand it, you can come onto this one and follow through and see what maybe they mean. So I've gone into a little bit more detail with some of the ways you sew it. So what your bag should look like is you've got it like a hollow like this. So your bag will be hollow, and your bottom will be sewn on, and the last 2 pieces are your side pieces, and I'll show you that when I get to it. I have to sew this one on, and the way you did it is you put it in the middle here with the outside facing out, and you match up the ends in your middle pocket and the ends to this edge here. Make sure your buckles are all outside, and you're going to sew down there, around and up, and make sure you've got a nice big long piece of thread. So once I've got that in, that piece will come around and attach to there, so you have a shoulder strap. You've got this big long shoulder strap as well. Whoops. Now in all, because I'm doing crochet as well, I've been taking my time with the bag. Now if you don't have any other project and you're just doing this bag, I think you would have this bag sewed up maybe 2, possibly 3 days. When the way you sew it, you could even do it quicker. I was just taking my time, sewing one part and one part, putting it down, doing something else, then doing another part, and just taking my time with it. So I have got my bag finished. I've got my bag finished. I've got the big strap on. I actually think I might have it. No, I'm not. I thought I had it around the wrong way. So I've got the large strap on, and this is what the bag looks like when it's finished. It's got both its sides done. This is the bottom, and this is inside, where you've got your middle section with the zip, and you've got your big area in there, but you can still put things in this side and in this side. I'm sure I've done it all the way. I've finished doing all that stitching around it as well. And I found that over the few days that I did this, because I've been doing my crochet in between for other things for my channel, while I've been doing this, in all, I did this I really feel as if I've done it really well. I'm really chuffed with it. When I left it sitting here and I went to make myself a cup of coffee, and I came back and it actually looked like a shop bought bag, and I thought, my goodness, I'm really proud of myself that I managed to do this. Some parts where there was the 3 layers was a little bit difficult to pull through, but I got myself a little pair of pliers and I've gently pulled the needle through with the pliers. I've done that. Now the one thing I haven't done is burnt my little ends. In the original videos from Babylone leather, they actually use a little sort of lighter torch, and they just quickly burn off the ends of the thread. I think it helps seal it, because when you feel this thread, it's like it has like a wax through it, and I'm running out of words to say, because I am just so gobsmacked that I managed to do this. Now, if you don't have any other projects and you're wanting to make one of these bags, then I think you would have this all sewn up in maybe about 2 days. Maybe about 2 days. And once you get used to the way the stitching is, once you get used to that, then it's great. It really is. Now, doing up the sides here, because we had 3 layers as well, I did find using the bulldog clips to hold it while I sort of stitched through it, and I was doing this sitting on my knee. There was a few pieces that were just a little bit sort of fiddly, the word I'm going to use. So you've got to sort of fiddle it to get your needle in and through and hold it here. But I took my time with it, and I took a little rest from it when I felt I needed to, and I did something else. When I go out or away for a few days or whatever, I always stick a couple of balls of yarn and a crochet hook into my bag. This would have been great if it was just a little bit bigger for me, and that would be the type. I like my bag to be a little bit on the larger side anyway, and I think it's great. This is a beautiful bag for everyday use, and it is leather. It is original leather. It is beautiful, and it comes in all different colours, and there's all different sizes, and there's all different styles of the bags on the website. So what I'll do is, underneath the video, I'll leave links to the actual channel that they've done on YouTube with all their bags on it. I'll also leave a link to the website and to this specific bag. You'll see all the colours that this comes in. I'm sure it's 4 colours, and these are all metal. I mean, these are all brass. You can feel the cold, how cold these pieces are. They're good sturdy zips as well, and it's really good quality, and I love it. Now what I did when I put the studs on, if you saw in the video, I put these silicone caps over the studs. So you know that you could actually sit this bag down if you're outside. When you sit it down, it's about that off the ground if you do have to sit it down for any reason. This is beautiful, and I really enjoyed doing this project. So thank you very much to Babylone Leather for letting me have this kit so that I could test it out, do it, see how it is. And they do say that most people could do these, and it's really easy for beginners, and it is. I've never done one of these before, and I found it easy enough. And even with the problems that I've got in my hands, I still managed to get it through, because the pinholes are all pre-made. They're all made. Once you line them up, it's quite easy to get your needles back and forward through there. There is plenty of thread in that roll. I've got half of that left. I don't know where I put that, but I've got half of that left, and still got the needles and all the little bits. And what you can actually do on their website as well, you can go and you can buy just the bag itself. Once you've got a kit and you've got all the pieces that you need, you can go in and you can buy thread, you can buy hardware. Some of the hardware for this, some of the buckles and things are amazing, they're beautiful. Some of them look like butterflies and hearts and all that kind of thing. There's beautiful hardware that you can get to go on your bag. You can buy the bag kit on its own and then buy the hardware separate, and buy the one you want with big buckles and butterflies and heart shapes and all that kind of, and even like the pieces for the zip are different. You can buy a whole shebang of things. So go and have a look. It is worthwhile, and there's still time for Christmas if you want to order something like this for someone that you might, and they do order abroad, and they do deliver from abroad. It took less than a week for this to come to me, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So have a look on the website and see what you think of it. I think it's a great idea for gifts. They're not all bags. There's lots of other things that you can get as well to give someone as a gift to kickstart them into making their own leather products. It's beautiful. So thank you so much to Babylone Leather, and thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have time, subscribe to the channel, and if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. And if you like the video and you want to donate the price of a cup of coffee, you can go onto my coffee page. The link is also underneath the video, and you can donate, which helps to run the channel, helps to keep it running. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.